Nico's.
What do everybody? This is a new video from Midnight Suns. It's your favorite neighborhood Marvel man. I might be the last Midnight Suns person on this planet Earth screaming to the top of my lungs how amazing Midnight Suns is, because I wholeheartedly believe this is the game I've always wanted in my whole entire life. Honestly, only thing else I could see myself playing more than this would be a Final Fantasy Tactics remake in a modern day, graphics on PS5 or something like that. Well, let's get right into it, okay? Alright, so I'm gonna talk about this. I didn't even know this happened because I've been looking for Midnight Suns news like every day, literally. I look for Midnight Suns news. You guys know this. I'm one of the biggest Midnight Suns people in the whole entire galaxy, but for some reason we haven't had any news. So I'm gonna read through this article and we're gonna just kind of discuss, what we have here. About informational combat broke down by the creative director Jake Sullivan from Fire Access Games. Alright, so let's get into the article and let's break it down. Now, this article was written by a Josh West from Games Radar, and he talks about just basically the main part here where we're going to read it. It says play the hand you're dealt, right? Because he's talking about what the combat is going to be. We're just going to read it here verbatim, okay? Marvel Midnight Suns doesn't launch you into a war of attrition. You won't be cowering behind cover, counting out squares on a grid, or desperately hoping that a dice roll doesn't screw you out of landing your shots. You're playing as an established superhero. You need to act accordingly. It's a principal difference that the premise XCOM's actions was rooted in. You aren't learning how to fight or gradually growing stronger, says Solomon. Instead, you'll bring up the three heroes in the combat fighting against legendary Marvel supervillains and the type of foot soldiers that never seem to survive past a single panel in the comics. Some of the enemies you'll come up against don't even have health bars, such as the strength of heroes like Blade, Captain America, Ghost Rider, and Magic. Organizations like Hydra offset their lack of survivability by flooding the zone, and you'll need to utilize hero abilities to quickly and efficiently clear areas before you're overwhelmed by reinforcements. Rather than mapping these abilities to a taskbar or button endpoints, Firaxis has represented these as playable cards. Each hero has a unique set of abilities. No character shared any cards between each other, says Solomon, noting that there's no general punch or block cards. Every character has been significantly designed to reflect the hero's fighting style, proficiencies, and personality. Out of combat, you can select and swap any abilities you want in your 8-card deck. You can have duplicates or the same ability, or you can have a unique card in every slot. Learning this piece of information also get in my initial fear that the deck building and card management, this is from Jack's perspective, but the deck building and card management would be like Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering. But the knock-on effect is that made me worry about the depth of Midnight Suns combat. Managing an 8-card deck sounds simple enough, but how could it possibly provide enough variance to stay entertaining across long drawn-out battles? As it should happen, they aren't supposed to. The combat areas are but a fraction of the size of the XCOM maps, and many of the missions can be wrapped up in around 10 minutes. You accept the task, you assemble a squad, and you get the job done. Death in Midnight Suns isn't born out of building a deck broad enough to survive RNG, but through the way your hero decks combine. Because you customize every hero's deck, you can change their playstyle to be more offensive, defensive, or support oriented, says Solomon, which notes that ability cards can be both upgraded and modded to support or further specializations. You'll customize decks back at the Abbey, the Midnight Suns home base, where you'll be able to interact with and invest in a large roster of heroes joining you in a fight against Lilith. If you want to have more Iron Man abilities, you need to take Iron Man to combat more frequently, says Solomon, explaining that gamma coils collected in combat can be analyzed by the squads forged by Tony Stark, which will give you the 3 semi-random abilities affected by who you choose to take into battle in the last fight, which can later be added to the hero's deck. Solomon also tells me that you can upgrade the ability cards to help refine the skill sets of your favorite heroes. If you have two of the same base card, you can take them in the yard and upgrade them for a certain cost. For example, you can take the two of the Hunter Slash ability to create Slash Plus ability, which deals more damage and converts the knockback effect to forceful knockback, he explained. You cannot upgrade an upgraded ability though. You can't create a Slash Plus Plus card, for example, but you can unlock the ability to modify cards later on to add even more effects. And then he gets into generating Heroism. Heroism, ultimately a good squad, consists of 3 heroes who have complementing skill sets, have combined a set of abilities that net out to generate some heroism, says Solomon. Heroism is so integral to Midnight Suns combat and such a visible component to the UI that it's just going to leave the creative director to explain it. He adds, much of combat is centered around this resource called Heroism cards that come in 3 categories: attack, skill, and heroics. Attack and skill cards generate heroism, while heroics cost heroism. Heroics are the most powerful category of abilities in the game, but there's no guarantee on when you draw them or if you have enough heroism to execute them. Seeing Midnight Suns in action crystallizes how this interplay should function. Blade thinning the first wave of enemies by its inaction card to fire off a pair of submachine guns. The hunter follows with a skill that unleashes a chain of sword slashes, sending one Hydra agent craning into another, damaging both of them. Those attacks generate enough heroism for Doctor Strange to call upon the Axa Anguirus, a heroic that deals a truly devastating damage to a single foe. Likely the hugely influential IndyCar battler, Slate Aspire, Midnight Suns is about synergy as much as it's anything else. You have to think about each hero's individual decks and then how those characters' decks mesh and clash with the rest of your squad. Solomon continues. If you load up on too many heroic abilities in every character, you'll find yourself unable to use any of them because you can't generate enough heroism. Vice versa, if all you have is heroism generating abilities, you may find yourself unable to do enough damage. What's fun is that Fire Axe is promising a lot of variance in terms of specialization, which will turn impact the sort of combinations you can execute in combat. Ghost Rider specializes in dealing a ton of damage, but his attacks often incur damage to himself, because he is the spirit of vengeance. Magic lacks a lot of direct damage, but her ability to generate portals, knockbacks, and manipulate their positions make her invaluable. Blade's a straightforward damage dealer, but a lot of his attacks generate bleed, and he can lifesteal, which is awesome. Nice Minoru has some very strong magic offensive abilities, and something that can be unpredictable and requires some set up to maximize results. And then subverting expectations. Given the size of combat areas, Marvel Midnight Suns is less reliant on movement and placement than XCOM. Getting your heroes into advantageous positions, however, is still key to success. Each turn, the player has 3 cards to play, 2 redraws and 1 move. For the move, you can select any hero and move them anywhere you want on the battlefield. This is often most useful when you're trying to line up an attack with knockback. And put yourself in an angle so that you can leap off an environmental object to do damage, says Solomon. With no cover or suppression effects to worry about, the way turns function has also changed between X-Men and XCOM and Midnight Suns. Enemies clearly indicate who they are planning to attack next, giving you an ample opportunity to decimate your enemies with a smart card plays. Every hero has a unique icon, and this icon is displayed above every enemy, indicating who they are planning to attack next. Because of this, a player can find ways to mitigate upcoming damage during the enemy's turn. This can be done by taking down enemies or applying debuffs like weak to reduce their damage. Some heroes like Captain America, Wolverine, and Captain Marvel have the ability to taunt to force the enemy to switch targets, Solomon says, adding, and using the environment is an important element as well. You can knock back enemies to electrical junction boxes to apply stun to them, stopping them from attacking on their next turn. And then there's the question of a tried and true XCOM staple, permadeath, an element that really helped to set Fire Action Strategies series apart. While Midnight Suns will let you build your own unique leading hero, the Hunter, and customize decks for each of your squad mates, it won't let your bad decisions kill off Marvel's most famous heroes. That said, there is a penalty for tactical disasters. If any hero is down, the player will have the opportunity to revive them for the cost of 2 heroism. Continues Solomon. If all the heroes are down, you lose the mission and you must restart. Heroes who fall below a certain threshold of health will be injured, which lasts for a couple of in-game days. These injuries apply temporary negative traits to the heroes. For example, an injured Doctor Strange may start combat with less total health. I'm impressed by what I've seen in Midnight Suns so far. It's far more than a rebranded XCOM, subverting some common elements in smart ways, and leaning on an easy-to-understand deck-building system to deliver new spin on the superhero action. Marvel Midnight Suns deserves to be seen and judged on its own merits. Fire Axe is set to launch its tactical RPG the second half of 2022, and we hope we'll have to wait long to see more of it in action. Marvel Midnight Suns isn't the game I thought it was going to be, and it's probably going to be all the better because of that. And that is everything from Josh West. Now let's talk about this in depth. Guys, I can't be more happy about that article. I mean, tears, literal tears are coming to my eyes, because it is exactly what I was expecting from them. From them to bring over injuries, for the combat to be action heavy, as well with tactical. Like, just could you even your action has to be tactical. Like, you can make characters to be support. Like they mentioned, like magic powers is erratic, because her magic powers is it is erratic. It does so much cool shit. And then it was like, well, Nico's powers is kind of like all over the place, which it is. Nico's powers is all over the place because her character is still growing in a Marvel lore. So her base set of powers right now is kind of like a who's who of like a dark magic. And this gives us so many different things, and we've already seen how environmental comes into play, which you're walking right now on the screen. It just really tells me that they put so much work in it to make this really work, and it just makes me like, sorry, man. It just I really feel attached to this game. I cannot wait for it to come out, and I want more information about it, but I know we're gonna get it when we get it. But if this article is any indication of what we have going forward for this game, from deck building to player management, for like how to keep their health through in and out of combat, and like how you don't get randomized cards. You get cards for who you're taking into battle and who's performing better. So it really is going to have multiple playthroughs. You're not going to be able to get max power sets from everybody. And if you don't get max power sets, if you don't get people max 100% out, your hunter doesn't get their cosmetic outfits as well. They don't get the cards, like the carryover cards as well. So it's like, who are you going to use through this run? You only have a certain amount of people. It reminds me of Mass Effect, where you have to take a certain amount of people on missions in order to get their loyalty, to get their loyalty points out. And it really shows that they really sunk their teeth into an RPG. They did a story narrative RPG. Like, oh my god, we're getting so much closer to a turn-based Marvel game, and it's just like, yes. It's just like, yes, man, finally someone gets what we've been wanting for so fucking long. And I mean, action RPGs and stuff, well, that stuff is super popular. I understand why they've been out there forever, but let me tell you, man, this is what I've been looking for. I think this is what a lot of us been looking for, and I just hope this is the case. Really hope that this is the game of the future. I really hope that this is the game that we get, and it just has to happen at this point. At this point, it has to happen. I'm attached to this game. This game is amazing. It looks amazing. That's for sure. It just looks beautiful. That's for damn sure. And it just has so many elements to it. It just gives me so much emotions to see someone actually taking care of Marvel products. And don't get me wrong, I love the action adventure Marvel games like Insomniac, Spider-Man 2, and Wolverine. I'm head over heels for those games too. But those games don't get me. I'm more of a tactical RPG player. I'm more of a regular RPG player. Art games are good. I love art. Like, I've learned to love action RPGs. ARGs are good, but I'm always gonna want to see the things I care about and the way I care about them. And for Fear Access to understand that and to deliver that experience is something that I just can't wait to come across. And I hope everybody else feels the same. I can't wait to play this game. Can't wait to talk about this game with you guys. So that's all I have to say today. Just a little update on the game. Just a little update about the combat. And coming straight from the horse's mouth. So this is really good. And we're still looking for this second half of 2022. Which could be anytime. It could be it's as I'm recording this now, it's about to be May. So it could be coming soon, honestly. It really can be. It could be announced anytime soon. So keep your eyes and ears open for it. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't announced on like Xbox before some Xbox new showcase thing they're trying to bring up. I wouldn't be surprised they announced it there. Because they haven't done anything that was really tied to too much. I mean, I think they got announced at PlayStation's event, and then they did their own event. So hitting Xbox now would kind of just be like fair since they're everywhere. So maybe that's it. I predict they're kind of going to do something this summer. I predict they'll do their own thing this summer, or like if PlayStation do something in the early fall, they'll jump on that. Because I predict this game's coming by. I want to say August. I think August is probably when this game's going to release. It's just a great window. You don't want to compete with Forspoken. You don't want to compete with Gotham Knights. You don't want nowhere near God of War. That's just asking for an execution at this point. You know, like what Elden Ring did themselves, and you don't want to be nowhere near that Elden Ring fucking DLC, whenever that drops. So I think August sounds great, and I think it's perfect, and you can start a whole season of content based on that. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'd love to talk to you guys more about Midnight Sun. So definitely come hang out, and I'll see you next time. Peace.